Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. It's day 3 of my week of work in my summer vegetable garden, and on today's list we're going to be harvesting borlotti beans. We're then going to clear the bed and get it replanted. There's also a couple of areas where potato plants and parsnips are getting a little out of control. And finally we're going to finish up with seeing what we can harvest. Just here is my borlotti bean bed, although you would think it's more like an endive bed or even Swiss chard and the radicchio, because there's lots of volunteers in this bed. Now, trust me, it was planted out as a borlotti bean bed. So today we're going to get in there and get out what borlotti beans we can. They're certainly ready. They're nicely potted up. And we're going to dry those for a dried bean. And we're going to clear out all the plants in here and just restart this out of control garden. Now, I don't think we can get in here and just harvest the beans and then clear the garden. I think we're going to have to do that in one big swoop. So I'm going to start at this end and maybe leave a couple of these plants that are at the end of the garden and kind of not in our way, and just get the rest of it out of here. I've even discovered a couple of tomatoes in this garden bed, which I'm not going to leave. I've got plenty of tomatoes just behind me. So we'll make a start right here. One good thing about all the volunteers though is it makes great chicken food, or it provides plenty of bulk for a compost, which we will be building later in the week. Oh, here's our first borlotti bean. Now right here you can see one of the problems with having it so overgrown, especially with the humid conditions we've had of late, some of these beans are starting to rot. That's a bit of a mold growing over it, but these ones are perfect. So this is why I felt it was time to really get in here and clear this garden. Now often I'd get in here and just pull out these plants and then hang them all up to dry with the beans still on them, but I do want to separate out these beans that you don't really want to contaminate everyone else. And since I'm making a compost, all of this will be fantastic added to that. There's some beans which have already dried off. I'll keep those and they should be okay inside. A few more beans. They're all a bit tangled up. Yep, more potatoes. This plant here is right on the edge of the garden, and I might leave it, even though I might have squashed some leaves. I'll just leave it and see how it goes. It is starting to heart up, so that might end up being okay. That's my beans all essentially cleared. There seem to be a lot more of this endive and radicchio than the borlotti beans, but that should create, a jar of dried beans, which will be nice for cooking in winter. And I'm going to replace those beans with some more sweet corn. The corn we planted yesterday was a painted mountain corn, which is more used for its starch, like in flowers and things. But having another sweet corn to extend the season will be lovely. And I think this pile will be shared with my backyard chickens who missed out on the bounty yesterday. Here you go, everyone. My bed's all clear now, and it's left me with a basket of beans. Now I will be just leaving them in their pods for the moment, and I'll shell them once they're dry. So I'll be putting those ones in the carport. Now what we're going to do here in this bed is get the compost down, some mushroom and my compost, and then I've got my sweet corn seeds. Now these, I'm not sure what variety they are. My neighbour had success growing these last year, so she gave me some, so I'm going to get those in. Now I have soaked them overnight, just like I did with my painted mountain corn seeds. Now I'm making sure I do dig these in kind of fairly deep, because already from yesterday's planting, one of my chickens has managed to dig up one, or some other birds in the neighbourhood. So hopefully they won't be able to get these ones out of the ground. Just here on the edge of one of my paths is one of the huge parsnip plants that is flowering and will soon be in seed. Now I do have other parsnips elsewhere, so I don't really need this one totally here. So what I'm going to do, I'm trying really hard this year to keep my paths clear, is sort of take out half of this plant, and that can all go up to the compost. I don't know if it will remain standing, but because I've got other plants elsewhere, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to give it a go just to clear it a bit so I can kind of move along this path a lot easier. So I'm just going to lop these off and move them all out of the way. Some things don't need to take a lot of time to make a big difference. Now to my next problem of overgrowing plants, and that's in my potato bed. Just here, along next to this trellis that's here, is 2 rows of potato. Now, it looks like there's about 4 or 6 rows of potatoes because they're really spread out. Now, usually that's not an issue, but I am trying to grow sweet potato in this end bed, and these potato plants are just covering them up. I would rather have sweet potatoes than just normal potatoes at this time of the year. So what I'm going to do today is just start to prune these plants along this side of the bed, just to move the plant out the way and give my sweet potato a bit more space and that all-important sunshine. Now where I can roll back some of these plants, I will. But if they're more likely just to fall back where they were, I'll trim them a bit. There's a few sweet potatoes in here that are looking a little bit lanky compared to all my other plants, so they definitely need this help. This is a sweet potato that's had no restriction to the sunlight or space, and this is my poor specimen that was struggling a little. I'll just totally pull this plant out because it is in the sweet potato bed, and there's plenty of other potato plants over there in that other bed. So again, freeze up this little plant to do its thing a bit better. Now, I don't know, oh, there's a potato. I don't know if this will make a lot of difference, but what I've been doing with the sweet potato is just covering over the stem sort of part way along, just to encourage it to root more. Last season I did notice that my potatoes, sweet potatoes, really just produced right where the roots were. So I figure if you encourage more roots like that, then maybe you'll get more sweet potato. If anyone watching is a sweet potato grower and knows these things, please let me know if you think I'll be successful. Well, sometimes you start with a plan, like trimming the plants, but as you go, you come up with a different course of action. And I think just folding those plants over for the moment will do the trick. I'll keep an eye on it and make sure no winds come along and just blow them back again. But for the moment, that has freed up my sweet potato bed to take off a little bit better. And it's another path that's sort of defined. And now we come to the exciting part of the video, and that is the harvest. Now this is my cucumber trellis. It's got 2 plants on it, and this plant has produced the first cucumber of the season, so that's pretty exciting. It does have a couple more coming on it and plenty of flowers, so I don't think we're going to be short of cucumbers this season. And look at that beauty. Now that is a long cucumber variety, and I think it's lived up to its name. Just next to my cucumber trellis is the first of my zucchinis to become productive, and looks like we've got a zucchini that we can take today. Nice and glossy. That's what I love about homegrown produce. Now next to both of those 2 plants, we've got my Purple King bean. Now I've been showing off my bean trellis for a bit now, and it's very exciting to be able to show a harvest. I have been picking a few beans off already, and today we'll be able to get a few more. Now these Purple King beans are pretty beautiful, being nice and purple, but when you cook them they turn green, so they're a bit magical really. Now these snow pea plants are just about finished, but they're still giving a few snow peas, enough for a meal anyway. But we can grab a few more from some younger plants down on my arch trellis. I just need a little step up to get them though. Look at that beautiful pumpkin coming along. I only noticed it once it was already stuck in this trellis. Hopefully the other one behind it will be easier to get out. Now I might grab some perpetual spinach, which to me looks a bit like Swiss chard, just a different variety of it. I've got my Swiss chard bed in here, mixed in with some seeding lettuce that I might remove in a few days' time. Okay, a few leaves of those should do us. Now just in here are my 2 huge zucchini plants, and one of them is the beautiful striped zucchini. It's sort of a little bit hard to get through the jungle to actually access these zucchinis, but there's actually 3 that I can see in there at the moment. There's one here, there's one hiding over the back there, and then there's another one coming out here. So they sort of grow from a few different points. Let's see if we can just snap that one off. Beautiful as well. Not perfectly snapped, but that's okay. And we'll add those to the mix. And this is the black zucchini plant that's right next to it. And I've remembered to bring my secateurs with me this time because that's a much better idea. Looks like it's zucchini fritter time of year, or zucchini slice, or zucchini bread, zucchini soup. There's lots of things you can do with zucchini. Now I do have a few beetroot that I could grab, but I don't really need those today. And there's plenty of carrots in here, but again, they can stay in the ground until I actually need to use some. What I do need to do today, which isn't really a harvest, but will give me a harvest, is take the middles out of these basil plants. And that will encourage them to bush up a bit more and give a better plant and more harvest down the track. The aroma of basil is just delightful. Now we saw this curly leaf endive plant earlier, right near my borlotti bean bed, but I'll leave that one for another day. But that's going to make a fantastic salad. Now the last thing I'm going to harvest today is actually some of these beautiful echinacea flowers. Now this plant here had been supported by masses of growth, and when I cleared this garden bed, it sort of all collapsed. Now it is growing again out from the middle, so I start trimming these, I'm sure the plant will just regrow and start the flowers sort of up strong, like all the other echinacea plants in the garden. I'll just trim all of that off. Okay, well that's a nice addition to my harvest today. And that concludes the third day in the garden. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the harvest at the end of it as well. And I hope you'll join me tomorrow. Make sure you've subscribed and hit the notify button so you know when I've uploaded it. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and bye for now.